The crystal vase shattered across the marble floor. For 5 years, billionaire Victor Sutherland hadn't spoken a single word. Not to doctors, lawyers, or family. Grief from losing his wife and son had stolen his voice. But when Maid Martha brings her 7-year-old son Eli to work, everything changes. The boy's innocent persistence cracks Victor's silence. One word at a time. What Martha doesn't know. Victor recognized them. Her son holds the key to a past she never knew existed, and a future worth $3 million. Hey family, welcome to Real Life Heart Stories. Please subscribe and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for the support. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The crystal vase shattered across the marble floor. Martha froze, her cleaning cloth still in hand, watching the pieces scatter like diamonds across Victor Sutherland's grand foyer. Her 7-year-old son Eli stood motionless, his eyes wide with fear. "I'm sorry, Mama," Eli whispered, his small voice echoing through the silent mansion. Before Martha could respond, she heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps descending the spiral staircase. Her heart raced. In the 3 months she'd worked here, she'd never seen the billionaire up close. The other maids whispered about him constantly. Victor Sutherland, the tech mogul worth billions, hadn't spoken a single word in 5 years. Not to his lawyers, his doctors, or his remaining family. He communicated only through written notes, if at all. Martha grabbed Eli's hand. "Stay behind me," she breathed. Victor appeared at the bottom of the stairs. Tall, gray-haired, wearing an expensive but wrinkled suit. His face was expressionless, carved from stone. His eyes, once sharp and commanding according to magazine covers, now looked empty, distant. He stared at the broken vase, then at Eli. Martha's voice trembled. "Mr. Sutherland, I'm so sorry. My regular sitter got sick, and I had no choice but to bring my son. I'll pay for the vase. I'll work extra hours. Please, I need this job." Silence. Victor didn't move, didn't blink. Eli pulled his hand free from his mother's grip and walked toward the billionaire. "Mister? Are you mad?" "Eli, no." Martha reached for him, but her son was already standing in front of Victor, looking up at the towering figure. Victor's gaze shifted to the boy. Something flickered in his eyes, barely noticeable, but there. Eli bent down, picked up one of the larger vase pieces and held it up. "It's okay. My mama says broken things can be fixed. See? We just need glue." The mansion fell into suffocating silence again. Victor stared at the child holding the broken crystal. His jaw tightened, his hands clenched at his sides. Then he did something that made Martha's breath catch. He knelt down. Slowly, his knees creaking, until he was at eye level with Eli. The boy smiled. "You're really tall, even sitting down." Victor reached out, his hand shaking slightly, and took the piece of crystal from Eli's small palm. He examined it, turning it over in his fingers. His lips parted as if to speak. Martha held her breath. The entire mansion seemed to hold its breath. But no words came. Victor closed his mouth, stood up, and walked back up the stairs without a sound, still holding the broken piece. Eli turned to his mother, confused. "Why doesn't he talk, Mama?" Martha didn't know how to answer, but as she cleaned up the remaining pieces, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had just shifted in this silent house. The next morning, Martha arrived at the mansion alone, having found a last-minute sitter for Eli. But the head housekeeper, Mrs. Chun, had other plans. "Mr. Sutherland left you a note," Mrs. Chun said, handing her an envelope with shaking hands. "In 23 years of working here, I've never seen him write about anyone twice. You must have made quite an impression." Martha's fingers trembled as she opened it. The handwriting was sharp, controlled. "Bring the boy. Every day. Vase. What does this mean?" Martha asked. Mrs. Chan shook her head, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and concern. "I don't know, but Victor Sutherland doesn't make requests lightly. If I were you, I'd listen." That afternoon, Martha brought Eli. The boy's eyes lit up as they entered the mansion. "Can I explore, Mama?" "Absolutely not," Martha said firmly. "You stay where I can see you." But Eli was 7, and 7-year-olds have selective hearing. While Martha vacuumed the sitting room, he wandered down a long hallway lined with closed doors. One door, larger than the others, stood slightly ajar. Light spilled through the crack. Eli pushed it open. The study was magnificent. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive oak desk, and windows overlooking a garden that had clearly been neglected for years. But what caught Eli's attention was the wall of photographs. Dozens of them, all facing backward. "What are you doing in here?" Eli spun around. Victor stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "I'm sorry, mister. I was just looking." Eli pointed at the reversed photographs. "Why are your pictures facing the wrong way?" Victor's jaw clenched. He walked to his desk, sat down, and picked up a pen and paper. "Out. Asterisk," he wrote, holding it up. "But why?" Eli persisted, his child's curiosity overriding any sense of danger. "Are you hiding from them? My teacher says hiding from problems makes them bigger." Victor's hand froze mid-reach for another piece of paper. He stared at the boy, and for a moment, his carefully constructed walls seemed to crack. Eli walked closer. "My daddy left when I was a baby. Mama cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. But she says talking about it helps. Maybe talking would help you too." Victor's breathing became heavier. His fingers gripped the edge of the desk until his knuckles turned white. Then, with a sudden movement that made Eli jump, he stood and turned all the photographs around. A beautiful woman with kind eyes. A boy, maybe 9 or 10, with Victor's same sharp features, laughing in every picture. Eli studied them carefully. "They look nice. Where are they now?" Victor's hand moved to his chest, pressing hard against his heart. His eyes glistened, but no tears fell. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing. He grabbed his notepad with shaking hands. Asterisk gone. Asterisk. Eli did something unexpected. He walked over and hugged Victor's leg. "I'm sorry, mister." And for the first time in 5 years, Victor Sutherland's shoulders began to shake. 3 days passed. Each afternoon, Eli came to the mansion. He didn't speak much to Victor, just sat in the study doing his homework while the billionaire worked on his computer. Sometimes Eli would hum. Sometimes he'd share random facts from school. "Did you know octopuses have 3 hearts?" Eli announced on Thursday. Victor glanced at him over his screen, then returned to his work. "That's 2 extra hearts to feel sad with," Eli continued thoughtfully. "That would be really hard." Victor's typing slowed. On Friday, Eli brought his backpack into the study as usual. But this time, he pulled out a small wooden music box his grandmother had given him before she died. "Want to hear something?" He didn't wait for an answer. He wound the key and set it on Victor's desk. A delicate melody filled the room. A lullaby, soft and achingly familiar. Victor's reaction was immediate. His entire body went rigid. His eyes locked onto the music box as if it were a ghost materialized before him. His breathing turned rapid, shallow. "My abuela sang this to me," Eli said softly. "She said music talks when words can't." Victor stood abruptly, his chair crashing backward. He stumbled to the window, pressing his palms against the glass, his whole frame trembling. Eli approached cautiously. "Mister, did I do something wrong?" Victor's reflection in the window showed a man coming apart. His lips moved, forming silent words. His fist pressed against the glass. "It's okay," Eli said, repeating what his mother always told him. "It's okay to be sad." Victor spun around, and Eli saw something he hadn't seen before. Tears streaming down the billionaire's face. Silent tears, falling freely. But his mouth remained closed, locked, as if wired shut by invisible chains. "Do you want to try?" Eli asked gently. "Just one word? You don't have to say a big word. Something small." Victor shook his head violently. "Okay." Eli picked up his music box. "That's okay. My mama says everyone heals different." He wound the key again, and the lullaby resumed. This time, Victor didn't run. He sank to the floor, his expensive suit crumpling, his back against the wall. Eli sat beside him, the music box between them. They sat in silence, a child and a broken billionaire, until the melody wound down. "Same time tomorrow?" Eli asked. Victor looked at the boy, this persistent, gentle child who somehow saw past the walls that everyone else respected. He nodded. As Eli reached the door, Victor's hand shot up. He gestured for the boy to wait. With shaking hands, he picked up his notepad and wrote something, then held it up. "Thank you, Eli." It was the first time he'd used the boy's name, the first time he'd thanked anyone in 5 years. Eli beamed. "You're welcome, Mr. Victor." That night, Martha found the music box in Eli's backpack with a note attached. "Keep it safe. It means something." But the music box wasn't empty. Inside was a check for $50,000. Martha couldn't accept the money. Monday morning, she marched into Victor's study with Eli in tow, the check in her trembling hand. Victor sat at his desk as always. He looked up when they entered. "Mr. Sutherland, I can't accept this," Martha said, placing the check on his desk. "It's too much. We didn't do anything to deserve." Victor snatched his notepad. Asterisk, "You gave me something priceless. Let me give something back." Asterisk, "But $50,000 for a music box? I don't understand." Victor's pen moved frantically. Asterisk, "Not for the music box. For bringing him." Asterisk. Eli had wandered to the photographs on the wall. He studied the picture of Victor's son closely. "Mr. Victor, what was his name?" The billionaire's hand froze. He set down his pen. His eyes moved to the photograph, and pain washed over his features like a physical wave. Eli turned around. "It's okay if you don't want to tell me." Victor stood slowly, walked to the photograph, and touched the frame with his fingertips. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. His whole body tensed with effort, like a man trying to lift an impossible weight. The sound was barely audible, rough from 5 years of silence, cracking like old leather. Martha gasped. Eli's eyes widened. "E-T-I, Ethan." The name came out broken, raw, followed by a sound that was half sob, half laugh. His name was Ethan. The room seemed to tilt. Victor grabbed the desk for support, his legs threatening to give out. He had spoken. After 5 years of absolute silence, he had spoken his son's name. "Ethan," Eli repeated softly. "That's a nice name." Victor's eyes flooded with tears. "Yes." The word came easier this time. "Yes, it was." Martha covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "Mr. Sutherland." "Victor." His voice was hoarse, unfamiliar even to himself. "Please, call me Victor." Eli walked over and took Victor's hand. "Does it hurt? Talking?" Victor knelt down, looking at the boy with wonder and anguish mixed in his eyes. "Yes, but could hurt, like stretching muscles that have been frozen." "What happened to Ethan?" Eli asked with a child's directness. Martha moved to stop him, but Victor held up his hand. "Car accident." Each word seemed to cost him. 5 years ago. Him and my wife, Caroline. I was driving." His voice broke completely. "I was driving, and I couldn't save them." The confession hung in the air, heavy and terrible. Eli squeezed Victor's hand. "It wasn't your fault. I stopped talking because I didn't deserve to speak. I didn't deserve anything. I took their voices away, so I took mine away too." "But they wouldn't want that," Eli said with certainty that only children possess. "Right, Mama? Nobody would want that." Victor looked at Martha, then back at Eli, and for the first time in 5 years he smiled through his tears. "No," he whispered. "No, they wouldn't." Speaking didn't come easily. Victor's voice remained rough, and sometimes entire days passed where he couldn't force words out. But Eli's presence seemed to unlock something fundamental. One Wednesday afternoon, Eli found Victor in the garden, the overgrown, neglected garden visible from the study window. "This was Caroline's," Victor said. his voice still raspy. He touched a wild rose bush. She planted every flower. After the accident, I couldn't bear to look at it. Couldn't bear to touch it. Eli examined the tangled mess of vines and weeds. It's not dead, though. Look. He pointed to green shoots pushing through the chaos. It wants to grow. It just needs help. Victor stared at the garden as if seeing it for the first time in years. I wouldn't know where to start. The beginning? Eli suggested. That's where Mama says to start everything. So they did. Victor, in his expensive suit, and Eli, in his school clothes, began pulling weeds. At first, Victor's hands shook. Every rose reminded him of Caroline. Every stone in the path reminded him of Ethan, who used to race toy cars along them. Tell me about him, Eli said, wrestling with a stubborn dandelion. About Ethan. Victor's throat tightened. He was 9. Smart. So smart it scared me sometimes. A genuine smile crossed his face. He wanted to be an astronaut. Had the whole plan figured out. He'd go to MIT, then NASA, then Mars. Mars is really far. That's what I told him. He said, Dad, that's why they need me. Because it's hard. Victor's voice cracked. He wasn't afraid of anything. They worked in silence for a while. Then Victor spoke again, quieter. The night of the accident, we were coming back from his science fair. He'd won first place. We were celebrating. I was on my phone. Just for a second. Just checking one email. Eli stopped weeding and listened. The truck came out of nowhere. I swerved. But Victor's hands clenched around a fistful of weeds. Wrong direction. We went off the road. Rolled 3 times. They died on impact. I walked away with scratches. That's not fair, Eli said. No. Victor's voice was hollow. It's not. I would have traded places in a heartbeat. I wanted to. God. I wanted to. Eli walked over and sat beside Victor on the ground. My teacher says sometimes bad things just happen. Not because of what we do. They just happen. I was on my phone, Eli. For 1 second. That's what you said. 1 second. Eli's young voice carried a wisdom beyond his years. Nobody can be perfect every second. Not even billionaires. Victor looked at this child who had somehow become his therapist, his connection to the living world. When did you get so wise? Eli shrugged. I'm not wise. I just think being alive is better than being quiet forever. Don't you? Victor pulled a weed. Then another. Yes, he finally said. Yes, I do. That evening, Martha found them still in the garden. Dirt under their nails, surrounded by piles of pulled weeds, and the first glimpses of Caroline's intentional design emerging from the chaos. 2 months passed. Victor spoke more each day, though some mornings the words still wouldn't come. On those days, Eli simply sat with him, doing homework or reading aloud from his school books. Martha noticed changes. Victor started seeing doctors again. He began taking calls from his company, though he kept them brief. The mansion felt less like a mausoleum and more like a home. One rainy Saturday, Martha had to work inventory, so Eli spent the entire day at the mansion. While organizing Victor's study, something the billionaire now allowed, Martha found an old leather journal wedged behind books on a high shelf. She shouldn't have opened it. She knew that, but the first page stopped her cold. Ethan Sutherland Baby Journal, started March 15, 2009. Martha's hands trembled as she read Caroline's handwriting. Our miracle baby arrived 3 weeks early. We tried for so long, gone through so many disappointments. The doctors said it might never happen. But here he is, perfect, beautiful, ours. Martha flipped through pages of first words, first steps, favorite foods. Then she reached an entry dated June 2010. Had to tell the Richardsons today that we can't help them anymore. I know they needed the money desperately after John's accident. And God knows I wanted to help Martha. She's been our housekeeper for years and such a dear friend. But Victor's company is going through rough times. We barely have enough ourselves. It broke my heart to say no, especially knowing she's pregnant and alone. I pray they'll be okay. Martha's vision blurred. Richardson was her maiden name. The timing matched. Eli was born in January 2011. She flipped forward frantically, searching for more mentions. There, December 2010. Saw Martha at the market today with her newborn son. He's beautiful. She's named him Eli. She looked exhausted, poor thing, working 3 jobs. Victor's feeling guilty. We couldn't help more. I made him promise that if we ever get back on our feet, we'll make it right. Martha deserves better than the hand she's been dealt. Martha's mind reeled. She had only worked at this mansion for 3 months, hired through an agency. She'd never known the Sutherlands before, never made the connection. But Caroline had known her mother, had wanted to help. She kept reading, her heart pounding. April 2011, Ethan's 2nd birthday. Can't believe how time flies. He's talking in full sentences now. Martha's little Eli must be around 3 months old. I wonder how they're doing. The journal ended abruptly in January 2014, a few months before the accident. The last entry was simple. Ethan asked me today what I wished for more than anything. I told him I already have it, him and Victor, our perfect little family. Nothing else could ever matter more. Martha closed the journal, tears streaming down her face. This explained everything, why Victor had requested Eli specifically. The boy was approximately the age Ethan would have been. The presence of a child Caroline had cared about, even from a distance. But as Martha looked at the dates, calculating ages, a disturbing thought crept in. Why had Victor really wanted Eli around? And what else didn't she know? Martha confronted Victor that evening after Eli fell asleep in the study, exhausted from reading aloud. You knew who we were. Her voice shook. When you requested Eli, when you wrote that note, you knew. Victor looked up from his desk, his expression unreadable. Yes. How long? Mrs. Chun showed me employee files when I started reviewing household operations again. I saw your name, Martha Richardson. Then I saw his birth date in your emergency contacts. January 2011. Victor's voice was steady now, practiced. Caroline wrote about you, about wanting to help, about your son. So this was what? Guilt? Charity? Martha's anger rose. You wanted him here to make yourself feel better about the past? No. Victor stood, his jaw tight. I wanted him here because when I saw him that first day, when he handed me that piece of broken crystal, I felt something I thought had died. Hope. Connection. I wanted to remember what it felt like to be human. He's not a therapy dog, Mr. Sutherland. I know that. Victor's voice cracked. Don't you think I know that? I've been terrified every single day that I'm using him, that I'm being selfish, that... He stopped, composing himself. But then I see him smile. I hear him talk about his day. And I feel like maybe, just maybe, I'm not completely broken. Martha's anger wavered. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd think exactly what you're thinking now. That I had ulterior motives. That I was manipulating you. Weren't you? Victor flinched as if struck. At first? Maybe. I don't know. But now? He looked at Eli sleeping peacefully in the chair. Now he feels like the grandson I'll never have. The second chance I don't deserve. And you, his voice softened. You've given him to me freely, Martha. How could I ever repay that? Martha wiped her eyes. The money. The check. It was guilt money. No. It was gratitude. Victor pulled out his desk drawer and removed a thick folder. This is a trust fund. For Eli's education. For his future. Is separate from anything I give you. Is managed by my lawyers. Ironclad. Even if something happens to me, even if you leave tomorrow and never come back, it's his. Martha took the folder with shaking hands. The numbers inside made her dizzy. $3 million, Victor said quietly. Ethan's college fund. I want Eli to have it. To become that astronaut or doctor or teacher or whatever he dreams of being. Victor, I can't. You can. You will. His voice was firm. Because Caroline wanted to help you. Because I want to help you. And because that boy sleeping in my chair has given me more in 2 months than therapy did in 5 years. Martha looked at her sleeping son. then at this broken billionaire who'd somehow become part of their lives. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." 6 months later, the garden was unrecognizable. Roses bloomed in careful rows. The paths were clear. A new bench sat in the center, with a plaque reading, "Caroline and Ethan, forever in bloom." Eli ran through the paths, now 8 years old, chasing butterflies with the freedom of a child who belonged. Victor sat on the bench, no longer silent, no longer alone. Martha sat beside him, watching her son play. "He got accepted to that science program," Martha said. "The one at the university, thanks to the tuition you paid." "He earned it," Victor replied. "That project on renewable energy was college-level work." "He had a good teacher," Martha smiled. "Someone taught him that broken things can be fixed." Victor watched Eli discover a blooming rose. "I'm thinking of starting a foundation for children who've lost parents, and parents who've lost children. Grief counseling, support groups, financial assistance." "That's beautiful. I want to call it the Second Chances Foundation." Victor's voice was stronger now, clear. "Because that's what this is, isn't it? A second chance I never thought I'd get." Eli ran over, holding the rose carefully. "Victor, look, this one's red and yellow together." "That was Caroline's favorite variety," Victor said softly. "She called them hope flowers. Red for love, yellow for new beginnings." "Can I take one to Mama's apartment?" "To remember. Take as many as you want. This garden is as much yours now as it was hers." Eli beamed and ran off to pick more carefully, using the technique Victor had taught him. Martha turned to Victor. "Do you still have hard days? Days you can't speak?" "Yes, but fewer. And when they come, I don't face them alone anymore." He looked at her seriously. "I need to ask you something, Martha, and you can say no." She waited. "I'm rattling around in this mansion alone. You and Eli are in that tiny apartment across town. I have 12 bedrooms sitting empty. I have a family I lost and a family I found, and it seems foolish to keep them separate." He took a breath. "Would you consider moving in? Permanently? Not as my employee, but as family?" Martha's eyes widened. "Victor." "Separate wing. Complete privacy. Eli could have the bedroom that was Ethan's. I've finally cleaned it out, and I think it would make Caroline happy to see it used again. You could save money, quit your other jobs, maybe go back to school like you always wanted." He paused. "And I'd get to see that boy grow up. Be the father figure I never got to be." Martha looked at her son, then at this man who'd become so much more than an employer. "Okay," she said. "Yes, we'll try." Victor's face transformed. "Thank you. Thank you, Martha." That night, as they walked through the mansion together, planning which rooms would be whose, Eli asked, "Victor, will you teach me to drive when I'm older? The right way, so nothing bad happens?" Victor knelt down eye to eye with the boy. "Yes, Eli, I'll teach you everything I know, and I'll make sure you're safe. Always. Promise. Promise." As Eli hugged him, Victor looked up and saw the reversed photographs, now turned forward again, of Caroline and Ethan, smiling down at this new family that had formed from the ashes of the old. Broken things could be fixed after all. If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the most profound healing comes from the smallest hands. Comment below. What's your biggest takeaway from Victor's journey? Don't forget to like this video and turn on notifications for more incredible stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and remember, it's never too late for a second chance.